Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Babes in Bookland. I'm your host, Alex Franca, and today I am discussing Survival of the Thickest by Michelle Buteau with my friend Paige. Before we get into it, I wanted to share another great 5-star review from Apple Podcasts. This review is titled Nice Listen by Share the Load. Cool idea and great hosts. Thanks, Share the Load. You know, sometimes short and sweet is the best way to do it.
Hi, Paige.
Hello. So happy to be here.
So happy to have you. What did you think of this book, Paige?
I loved this book, the chapter where she talks about her missing tooth. That may have been the hardest I've laughed at a book chapter ever. I was dying. Did you read it or did you listen to it?
I read it because I go through and I highlight and I make notes.
I listened and she narrates it, which makes it 1,000 times funnier because she's hilarious. It was like being at one of her stand-up shows or something. So funny. She did such a good job narrating it.
I think if I'm ever having a bad day, I'll download the audiobook and just listen to Michelle Buteau read some of the chapters, especially the tooth one. I also loved the book. I felt that it just exuded joy, even during the more difficult parts. And there were some more difficult moments that she discussed in her life because all of our lives have highs and lows. I quite literally laughed out loud at a few parts like you. I was proud when I got most of her pop culture references because there were a lot.
A lot of pop culture references. I'm sure you got more than I did.
But overall, I just felt like I was grabbing a bottle of wine with my super confident, hilarious, and vulnerable girlfriend.
Totally. I loved how vulnerable she was through the whole thing. She has so many crazy stories and just these experiences that are, to me, just felt like unfathomable. And then for her to come out of it, she always had like a good lesson to tell. And I thought it was awesome.
I can't wait to get to what I think is probably the best clapback I've ever heard in my entire life. Do you know what I'm okay?
Yes.
We'll get to it. It was published in 2020 and she dedicates this book to Gijs. It's spelled Gijs, but it's pronounced Gijs because he's from the Netherlands, aka Bob. You're my first, my last, my everything. The book is also now a show on Netflix, which is very exciting. Before we get into some of the deeper topics, there are a couple of lighter, quick topics that I just wanted to go over with you. She has a very sweet paragraph about her first kiss. She writes, "He was my first kiss. And okay, wow. Yes, it was intense. His face smelled like smoke, and I thought that was very adult. He stuck his tongue in my mouth, and I immediately thought, interesting. I didn't know someone could lick your soul. He held my face and slightly pinched my cheek and said, that was so great. I realized I had stopped breathing and was like, I think I love you. Do you want some chicken my dad made?"
Yes.
Such a great example of her writing. And when I read the line, I didn't know someone could lick your soul, it at the same time gave me like, aw, like goosies and also like, ooh, that was a deep kiss. But I wanted to hear your first kiss story. I don't know if I know this.
I did not feel that my soul was touched in any way. It was I was on a date. I was 16, and so I was driving because he was 15. He couldn't drive yet.
Okay.
So I was dropping him off at his house, and we got out of the car, and he like kissed me at the car. I remember it being wetter than I was expecting.
Did he go for tongue?
Yes,
Wow.
he did, but not in a great way. I mean, he's 15, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I did not feel in love after that moment at all. I just felt kind of like, okay.
I wonder if you were his first kiss.
I wonder too. I don't know.
You do learn to kiss through the people that you kiss growing up.
Absolutely. Yes. A little too enthusiastic, maybe.
A little too enthusiastic. Yeah. Oh, well, I hope that sweet boy, wherever he is, has gotten to be a better kisser, or at least found a woman who enjoys, or man who enjoys his wet kisses.
Yes, I hope so too. What was yours?
Mine was actually a fantastic first kiss, but
Really?
he had known that I had liked him for a long time. We kiss and it was really great, but I was feeling really confused because we had just gotten back from camp where he had kind of like a camp girlfriend. It's
Oh.
like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I just want you to know I still like the other girl.
Oh
Yeah. The kiss
no.
itself was good, but the aftermath was
I
not.
know, man. So neither of us felt that soul touching love after our first kiss.
It was not a rom-com moment for either of us.
Yes.
Okay, so she has a section in her book called Friendship, where she talks about all the different types of friends that you encounter in your life and the different types of friends that you need. One of my favorite sayings that she writes in her entire book pops up in this section. Don't give them your shine, which I loved and I felt was such a succinct way to be reminded that friends should be in your life to support you and uplift you and help you shine brighter. But it's also your job to maintain your self worth.
Yes.
I think sometimes we forget because we can let other people define our self worth, but it's your job to define your self worth.
I totally resonated with that as well. And I've had friends who almost like set you up for failure to bring you down a little bit. You really do have to just define your self worth from yourself. Because when you're in those situations where like they may ask you to do something and then critique the way that you do it, and it's kind of like, okay, you set me up for that because you wanted it to be a certain way and you knew I wasn't going to do it that way.
Oh, hell no.
I have felt that before. And in different situations, the big thing with me with friends is that I hate the feeling of being left out.
Me too.
But not feeling left out with my adult friends is something that I have to consciously do for myself. Hey, this group of friends is doing this. I am not available to do that. And that's okay. I'm not being left out of the situation. I'm prioritizing other things in my life. So,
That's such a great way to switch that. Instead of the fear of missing out, it's prioritizing the things that are important to you.
yes, as adults, we have so little free time to spend with friends. You really have to prioritize who you're spending your time with, and does it enrich your life,
Yeah. Yeah.
or does it make you feel worse?
That's so true. Now, how do you go about teaching your daughters this? Because we do experience this in our adulthood, but not to the extent that our daughters are about to experience it as they embark further into elementary school, junior high, high school. How do we teach them not to let people steal their shine?
Yeah, so we talk to Jordan all the time about making sure that people are included, and she knows how it feels to feel left out of something in a classroom or something. At 6, she's already experiencing that. It starts early. So I feel like for us, helping her to recognize that feeling
Mm,
and to not put it on someone else is helping
mhm.
a little bit. She doesn't want anyone to feel left out. Being a parent and watching your kids go through things that were hard for you is so hard.
It's so hard. And we'll get into that a little bit more too with Michelle. She has some big moments that her father really shows up for her for. Okay, so she gets into having siblings versus being an only child, which she's an only child. And she wrote, the biggest issue is that later in life, you have no one to talk shit about your parents to, which I laughed at that because I was raised an only child. I now have a half sister, my sister, who is about 18 years younger than me, which is crazy. And so we're in different generations. She doesn't deal with my mom like only I do. And while I do love my parents, there are times where I wish I had had somebody that I could turn to who really understood my world from the perspective of being their child. Specifically, when my parents went through a divorce, I had wonderful friends. You were one of them, and your family was such a constant support to me during that time. But no matter how empathetic or compassionate you were, you didn't know what it was like to be a child of divorce. thank God. I'm so glad you aren't a child of divorce. And even if somebody was a child of divorce, they didn't know what it was like to be the child of my parents' divorce and my parents' dynamic and all the confusing things that I kind of had to go through alone. And even later in life, thinking forward to decisions like if I ever have to put my parents in a home or something like that, where I'm just like, oh God, I'm going to have to do all of this on my own with nobody else to touch base about it with. And you have a little brother. You've had your ups and downs as siblings, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like me and my little brother our personalities are so different, and he's lived out of state for I don't know, like he lived out of state for like 7 years or something. And so our experiences with our parents were different. And even now, like he's very close with my dad. He talks to my dad all the time. I'm really close with my dad as well. But if I'm going to talk to someone, I talk to my mom for the most part. Like when I call my dad, he jokes that it's the hotline because I'm always in some kind of like crisis or emergency situation. So his heart starts to pound whenever he sees my name pop up on his screen line. Because really, if I'm just calling to chat or check in or talk about the girls, I call my mom
Yeah.
for the most part. I
Yeah.
don't call my dad just to see like, well, what'd you have for breakfast or whatever. So we do have different relationships with my parents. I could probably call Corey and talk about some stuff with my parents, and he'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I guess it can definitely be a the grass is always greener situation. Okay, so we're going to dive into some deeper discussions now. One part of Michelle's book that I really loved was when she talked about exes and the ex cringe factor. She writes, look, some people aren't proud of their past when it comes to bad dates, terrible partners, etc. I get it. It's embarrassing. But I decided to take the shame out of most of my awkward situations slash times in my life and embrace the fuck out of them. It has taken me a good while to stand in power and truth about my past. Too many times women are meant to feel disgraced for owning their sexuality. But if we take back the night, then no one can hold anything over us. I guess what I'm saying is, in all of my womanly wisdom and after absorbing years of experience in love and lust, I don't stigmatize getting dickmatized. She gives a bunch of examples of a bunch of these interesting men that she has dated
Right.
that, help the people that you date, the people you're in any sort of relationship with, friendships, your parents, they all help mold you into who you are today, for better or for worse.
Mm-hmm.
But I do love that she encourages her readers to not feel embarrassed or any shame with exes because I do. I look back on my exes and I don't know if I cringe about them as much as I cringe about who I was with them, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Do you look back on any of them and you're like, oh, wow, I can't believe I dated that guy or I dated him as long as I did?
Yes, I do have a few of those. And one of them was I kind of dated this guy while I was an intern, and then we both ended up coming on for the same company. So we're coworkers.
Oh,
So that was a little weird. And I kind of wish I would have done that.
that does get tricky.
And then another one, dated him. He just wasn't that nice. I don't know why I was dating him, but he wasn't that nice to me. And so I ended up breaking up with him, breaking off. And then several years later, when I was out of college, I went to get my oil changed. I walk in, he's the only other person in the lobby.
What did you do? Did you just ignore him?
No, there was no way. I couldn't ignore him. It was like too obvious. I mean, I was married at this point already. Like, this was years and years later. It didn't end up being that awkward, but it was like opening that door. I just remember my heart dropping. Like, I cannot believe this.
Wow, of all the gin joints in the world.
Yes.
I want to go back to this guy though, where you said I know this is like the same guy you're talking about, but when you said he was mean to you, how long did you guys date and what was the final straw? Because it sounds like you were sort of aware, like, whoa, this dude's not treating me the best. He's kind of rude.
You know, he was very nice in the beginning before we were dating. And then once we started dating, he just got so condescending. He would just talk down to me all the time. And the catalyst for me breaking it off was actually meeting my husband.
Oh, well,
I guess I knew him before that, but getting to a point where like I knew I wanted to date him.
So yeah, I end up breaking it off then.
Well, you definitely have a winner now.
So getting back to Michelle earlier when we were talking about first kiss stories, that was with a boy named Hakeem. And Hakeem was also her first love. This happened in high school. Now, Hakeem cheats on Michelle with Michelle's best friend at the time, Dee Dee. And my heart broke for her. She has this dream that her best friend had hooked up with her boyfriend. She can't really get out of her head, so she decides to ask her friend about it. And of course, when she does, she reads it all over her friend's face that they had hooked up. Side note, she also has the dream about her next boyfriend not being able to read, and that also turns
I
out to be
know.
true. So I feel like Michelle Buteau is psychic.
I was hoping you were going to mention that because I thought that was crazy as well. I've never had that happen where I dreamt something and it turned out to be true,
Me neither.
but it sounds like she kind of knew.
I do feel like it was this instinct of hers that she was picking up on that her subconscious wanted to bring to the forefront for sure.
Agreed. Except maybe not with the couldn't read guy. That was just bizarre.
That was bizarre. I mean, she does write that he hid it really well, that they would go to restaurants where he knew the menu. But I think there's no way if you're getting intimate with someone and you walk through life with them that you don't sort of pick up on
Right.
them not being able to read, right? I feel like she just has really amazing instincts, and then her instincts turn into dreams where she just decides to confront the situation.
Right. Yeah, crazy.
Crazy. So she writes about this breakup. She writes, my body felt numb. My heart was in my stomach. I was digesting my actual heart and ready to shit it out. Everything I knew about love and trust and honesty and friendship was out the fucking window. This was the first time I had been in love. I was ready to convert to Islam for this boy. I was saving myself for marriage, and he fucks my best friend. My heart broke for her. Not only is she betrayed by her first love, but she's betrayed by her best friend. And she writes about the first love more, but I wonder which one hurt more, because with romantic relationships there is a purposeful choosing every day, right? Like you choose to stay together, you choose to work on something.
Definitely.
But with friendships and best friendships, that stuff kind of is just there. It feels inherent to the relationship.
Right.
And so I honestly, I don't know which one would have felt like the bigger betrayal to me, but I feel like the best friend fucking the boyfriend was the bigger betrayal.
I know. Yes, agreed. Yeah, I can't imagine. I've never had something even close to that happen.
Yeah, that's really rough.
But with the friends situation, I do kind of feel like, like the saying chicks before dicks or whatever.
Right.
But also now our husbands are our family. Like he's the most important person. So at some point, it's not, you know?
Right. But in high school,
But when you're
it
15,
is. Yeah. And I get that some people do marry their high school sweethearts, but it just feels like there was no maturity in the situation at all. High school, and the things that feel
yes,
so big and so important. And you know what, are at the time. And I don't want to discredit them because
sure.
you are your experiences and you only have access to what is your current reality. Did you ever have a big breakup in your life, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, Brett and I broke up. So that was huge. That was really the only time after a breakup that I felt that soul crushing heartbreak. And I remember we broke up and I went home. Like I just left. I was in college, just left and went home and he was moving to Oklahoma. So it wasn't even like we were going to see each other.
Yeah.
And I remember I went home, I just cried the whole way. I took 2 Tylenol PMs
Mm.
and slept until like noon the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was either that night or the next day, me and my mom and my 2 aunts were together. And I just remember sitting on my mom's bed and just talking about it with them. And they were talking about their heartbreaks. And there was no, like they were taking it totally seriously because they knew already that like we had talked about marriage and
Mm-hmm.
that it was a really serious relationship for me. And so it was so nice just to talk to them and get their take on it. They didn't belittle the situation at all. They were encouraging to me about it. We obviously ended up getting back together. I think it's so important to have people that will listen to you and acknowledge your feelings and
Yes.
that it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Really thankful to them for that.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but my husband and I also broke up. It felt like the end. It felt like the breakup. And I don't know if you remember, but you sent me a care package.
I do remember that.
You sent me a gift basket, and I remember feeling so touched and feeling so loved. It reminded me that there were people out there who loved me, because at that point, you're feeling so unloved, so unchosen. And I will always appreciate that.
Oh, that's sweet. Rhett and I had already been through ours.
Yeah.
And so I remember, and I was like, okay, this means something different to me now. I'm
Yeah.
like, I got to send her something because I know where she is, and it is not a fun place to be.
That's really interesting too, that you say, because I've experienced it, I know this experience now. I think that that's something that as I get older, I realize is such an important part of life and relationships, giving people grace when they don't support you the way that you need to be supported, because they might not know what you're experiencing.
Right. Yes. And on the flip side of that, as an adult, being able to recognize that you have not been through this experience, and how can you still support someone in a way that they need when you don't actually understand what they're going through?
Yeah.
I do catch myself sometimes not understanding where someone's coming from, and really just having to back up and say, okay, well, I haven't been through that experience. So, yeah, I don't understand it, but how can I support them through this?
Yeah. How can we show up for one another when we don't know what it's like to be that person exactly walking in their shoes?
I feel like our whole country could use
A
a lesson in that.
Okay,
A
if there's
reminder.
anybody who can teach this, and just, the way that, remember when we woke up that one day and that U2 album was on all of our
Oh,
Apple Music?
yes.
We could just wake up one day and a video about compassion and empathy is on our
Yes.
phones. But this is such a great segue into Michelle's IVF journey, because
Yes.
there were so many examples of other people not supporting her the way that she needed to be supported. In fact, I love that she put them in the book, because they are clear-cut examples of what not to say and what not to do to talk to someone who is going through a really difficult motherhood journey. She writes that her journey is really, really difficult. She has multiple miscarriages, and eventually she has had enough. She doesn't want to put her body through it anymore. So she and her husband, Heiss, look into surrogacy. She writes about how her parents took money out of their retirement to help her and Heiss pay for the surrogacy, because it's really expensive. I did tear up when I read this,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
because it's so lovely. And that's a really big deal, to take money out of your retirement.
Huge. Yeah.
She writes this about the people in her life that had a difficult time supporting her through her surrogacy. She writes, "The more friends I shared my surrogate news with, the more alone I felt. Why I expected anyone to get what we were doing, I had no idea. None of my crew really knew about IVF. They sort of treated it like Botox. Oh, yeah, I've heard of that expensive procedure. I had an aunt that did it. I told one of my comedian friends about it because she asked how we were doing, and she said, 'Wow, aren't you fancy spending all that money? That's some rich people shit.' That's not how I felt at all. I felt broken, tired, and defeated. I felt like I was at the end of my rope and wasn't sure that I was ever going to be a mom. I told one friend's husband that we were going with the surrogate, and he said, 'Oh shit, you cheated. You can't do that.' I was not amused. I was not cheating. I felt cheated. This was a last resort for us to grow our family, and the fact that I had to apologize for it or explain to anyone why this was important was so ridiculous. Thankfully, I had a few supportive friends. One was so sweet and thoughtful. She sent me a handwritten note in the mail. Who does that anymore? She said she didn't know what I was going through, but could only imagine how hard it was. She also sent me a clipping of an article that a woman wrote about surrogacy that made me feel less alone. It was about how she couldn't have envisioned this path of uncertainty. Although, isn't that what life is? Would she feel less like a mother because she was not able to carry it? That part. I thought about it all the time. I asked my mother if I could see pictures of her pregnant with me. Every child wants to know. What would I show my children? All these concerns seem meaningless when you're talking about a healthy child, but it's so hard to take the emotion out of it, because I've learned that being a parent means you run on emotion. All I ever needed was, 'I'm sorry you're going through this. I can't imagine what that's like. If you need a hug, let me know.'" I know that was long, but so much in there. I cannot believe the
Yeah.
people who were like, "Oh shit, you cheated?" Like,
I
oh
know.
no.
Terrible.
What in the world? No filter? Like, do you not think That like,
I
oh.
know. Yeah, that was some super cringy reactions. And I love that she does give you a simple, succinct way to react to something that you don't understand or you've not been through. So I could definitely see myself using that in the future.
Yeah. I think as we continue to navigate life, we're going to come upon experiences like this where our friends are going through things that we haven't experienced yet. I think one way that, like, is it okay just to ask, what's the best way I can support you? Is it cooking you meals and showing up for you? Is it just checking in on you every once in a while without needing a response back? I think it's
Right.
okay to say that you're not sure the best path to take, but you want to be there for someone and support them. It's tricky though, because you're also like, I don't want to put anything on them, but it's hard.
When we started trying to get pregnant the first time, it took longer than I thought. I mean, we eventually did end up getting pregnant, but each month when you weren't pregnant, it was just crushing, it felt like. And there was so much uncertainty because you don't know at that point, could I get pregnant or not? So I can't imagine getting that far into the journey doing IVF or surrogacy or some of the other methods, and how you really have to you're giving up a dream in some way because you were envisioning yourself pregnant and giving birth, and that is so hard. I have friends who've done it, and it is such a journey and just really hard on your body too.
Yeah, it's a whole added
Yeah.
stress to an already uncertain,
Right.
stressful situation, especially when you want
Yes.
something so badly. Ugh, I know. My heart goes out to
Definitely.
people on all of their
Yes.
pregnancy journeys. So ultimately, Michelle does find a surrogate, and the surrogate gets pregnant with twins. And she writes a lot more in depth about how different the experience is when you go with the surrogate and how she kind of felt like an outsider in certain situations. And she writes, who knew this would be us finally getting pregnant, quietly knocking on the door, asking if it's okay to come in?
It's just gut wrenching. You could feel it in her words and her writing, and even listening to the audiobook and listening to her say it. It was just very poignant, and yeah, it just made you feel her emotions through that.
Yeah, and help gain perspective on what women and other people have to go through sometime to become parents.
Right.
So she talks about how she's filming the television show version of the First Wives Club when her babies are born, and how supportive the cast and their significant others were. And I thought that this was so special. One of the cast members' wives actually supplied breast milk to
Yes.
Michelle and her twins for 6 months,
Amazing.
which you and I have both
Yes.
pumped. We've done our pumping journey, and it is, for me, it was not fun. So what a selfless, completely
Yes.
selfless act that this woman did. And Michelle really talks about how just having a village of
Yes.
people to support you is so incredible.
Yeah, that was an amazing story. So cool.
So sweet. I mean, for 6 months too,
That's
like
a
that's
lot
a
of milk.
very long time. That's a long time for me to pump when it's my
Oh my
own
goodness,
baby.
I know. Yes.
So lovely. So, backtracking a little bit, we're going to go back to Michelle when she's in college. And when she's in college, she talks about these women that she meets, and they're brought together because they live on the same floor, but they're all very, very different. And she writes that the most important thing I learned freshman year of college was acceptance. Who knows if we would have ever been friends unless we lived on the same floor? We all have such different backgrounds, bodies, and goals in life, but what matters is we had each other's backs. I had never felt that before. I talked about it a ton, but never felt it. It didn't matter what these girls were facing in their lives. They were proud of themselves and open to learning new things about different people. They taught me how to walk straight, don't start shit, but don't take shit. Don't apologize to anyone for anything. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing everything. I definitely agree that there is nothing wrong with not knowing everything.
Agreed.
Feels like right now people feel like they have to know everything or have opinions on everything.
Right.
And that's just not true. Like,
It's okay to
we're
change your
all still
mind.
learning. Yes.
It's okay to not know everything. Yes, I totally agree with that too. And I think that that was an important part of my college experience as well, especially in my master's. We were taught to question everything. So when you're reading something or reading a paper, the professor would ask, all right, so did you buy it? Whereas, especially in high school and even in the first few years of your bachelor's degree, it's like, okay, this is the answer, memorize it for the test. But that's not how life works. If you can take some information in and then digest it so that you can form your own opinion on whether you think that that is true or that's applicable for you, then you're in such a better spot than if you just take everything at face value.
Yeah, you learn to critically think.
Yes. Think about it.
Now we have to be so careful about where we get our news from and the sources, and probably have to check multiple sources in order to get the full story,
Sure.
which, yeah, does that suck? Should we be able to just trust that the news is giving us the facts and nothing but the facts? Yes, that's what the news should be. But unfortunately, we all know now that's just not the case anymore,
Right.
because they need advertisers.
Right.
But it does make your job as a human being existing a little bit more difficult, because you have to go out and process the information and figure it out yourself.
Right.
So when Michelle was growing up, her body changed a lot faster than the kids around her. And so she didn't have a lot of confidence. And she gets to college and she discovers these other women who are confident with who they are. And she discovers more of her confidence. And she talks about women's prime. And she kind of asks if we recognize it, what it means to us. She writes, my prime is having breath in my body and pep in my step. My prime is that I'm a dope wife, a present mother, a caring friend, and a funny ass woke bitch on stage. My my prime is that I wake up every day and have a cute choice in wardrobe, because the fashion industry has either decided that as a size 18 broad, I'm worthy of style, or perhaps they just want to make a buck off my booty. Who knows? I'll think about it when I put on my ripped jeans and off the shoulder sweatshirt.
Yes.
She talks about how the media and society really paints a very small, specific picture of what a woman's prime is, and that it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
But that we buy into it and we believe it, and it's hard not to believe it.
Right. I was thinking about this when I read it. It's, can you recognize your prime when you're in it? But also, and I've been talking to a few of my mom friends about this recently, is that there's seasons for different things. I'm in my prime for like absolute full plate, full schedule, trying to do all the things right now.
Yeah.
But maybe in 10 years or 15 years, maybe I'll be in my prime for something else, different seasons career wise, different seasons parenting wise,
Different primes.
different
I like that.
primes, different primes.
Yeah. No, that's such a really good way of thinking about it. And just a really great idea that, yeah, maybe when we were athletes in high school, maybe that's when we were in our athletic prime.
Absolutely. My
I think we're
athletic
still
prime
strong
has
women.
passed. But I still do Pilates. I work on my physical strength and even mental strength. Yeah, different primes and different seasons. And I think it's important to realize, especially if you're in a harder season, that it is a season.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be this hard forever on certain things,
Yeah.
And it's important to recognize when you've come out of a hard season, I think. I had a difficult everybody did. Okay, through the pandemic, we all went through a hard season.
Yeah.
And my husband and I have vocalized, hey, we have come through this hard season, and isn't it nice on the other side?
Yeah. I think it's beautiful to acknowledge that. And actually, that's so perfect that you say that, because one of my favorite quotes in Michelle's book was when she writes, when things are rough for me, I try to celebrate as much as possible. Obviously, you can't forget the hard times you're going through, but it reminds us that there's still stuff to celebrate, which I think she's talking about trying to find things to celebrate even during the hard season, which when you're in a season, you have good sunny days and rainy days too. It's
Totally.
not all one thing.
Right.
But I don't know if we give ourselves enough credit as people sometimes for making it through things. And I think as moms.
Oh, totally.
And trying to navigate being a woman, having a career, wanting to be a present mom, wanting to
Right.
be a present partner, wanting to be all the things. And guess what? There's only so much of you, and you only have so
Yes.
much bandwidth, and giving yourself a little bit of a break when it comes to that stuff.
Right.
So, getting back to Michelle and her writing more about her finding confidence in her body, she writes, I wasn't fat, but since I was bigger than everyone else, I was made to feel fat, called fat, believed I was fat, and that fat was a bad thing. If you grew up with a body that you weren't comfortable in, then you'd understand. Yes, it's an awkward age, but no one ever talks about it. You're just supposed to deal with the cards you've been given and be thankful you're healthy. Other 13-year-olds had barely sprouted, and I looked like I was breastfeeding the whole 8th grade class. She's so
Hilarious.
funny. She's so funny. And yeah, no matter what your body is going through at puberty, whether you're a member of the itty bitty titty committee like I was, or you had very developed breasts, you were all of a sudden getting, in my opinion, unwanted attention from people.
Yeah. And I felt like for me, it was that I was tall. I
Mm,
always felt like so tall, just like bigger than everyone else.
yeah.
Because I was tall like from an early age as well. And I really felt like in college, that was when I really embraced my tallness. I started wearing like wedges and heels and
Yeah.
stuff. But in high school, and especially if you're in a situation like we were, where we were in elementary school with these kids,
Mhm.
we all,
We all grew up together.
whether you actually have the ability or not, it doesn't feel like you have the ability to change
Mm-hmm.
in high school.
Because people will be right there to remind you of like who you were.
Wait a minute, you didn't used to dress like that or wear those shoes or do this or that. And for me, I don't love change anyway. And so that would have been tough for me. But in college, that was where I was really like, yeah, I'm tall. There's lots of tall people here.
Yeah.
And I like to wear cute shoes. And even now, people will make comments, or it's funny because I'll see people, whether I'm wearing heels or not, and I'm really not that tall. I'm like 5'9". It's not like a giant. I'll see people, they'll look at me and then they'll look at my feet
What?
to see if I'm wearing heels.
Oh, how dare.
Especially when I am wearing heels. I'll see people at a party, they'll see them look at me and then they'll look at my feet. And a lot of times then they'll make a comment like, oh, you're tall, or
The
oh,
hell?
you got high heels on, or something like that.
Yeah, you're
So
like, thank you, Captain Obvious. Oh, I didn't know I was tall or that I had high heels on. Just wow, thank you.
yes.
Ah,
And on the flip side of that, it's funny because I'll see people, like if I'm at Target or whatever, I'll see a woman and I'll be like, oh, she's tall. And then I'll walk by her and like she's as tall as I am. So I get that. I get seeing someone being like, she's tall. But now it's something that doesn't make me uncomfortable.
you're acknowledging other people's tallness out of a sense of camaraderie, whereas other people are just like
Sure.
almost like just making a comment on your body. And you're like, yeah, I'm tall. This is just the way I am. I can't do anything about it.
It is interesting how people feel comfortable making comments about other people's bodies.
Yes, every single memoir has talked about that in one way or the other. The weird ownership that some people feel over other people's bodies. It's crazy.
We need to do better by our girls.
Yeah. She also writes that we call parts of our bodies problem areas, and she thinks that we should refer to them as human areas because that's what makes us human.
I love that.
I know. I love that too. And we should stop thinking about what we dislike about our bodies and celebrate how our bodies actually function because they're kind of miraculous.
Yes, I do feel like also embracing things that make you feel good. I've started wearing the underwear that dip and then they come up high on your. I love it. I think it's really sexy and it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I even got some one-piece swimsuits that go up a little higher on the hip. And I think it makes me feel good. It's not something that I would have like chosen before that. But if you find things that even though, yeah, my body looks different after I had two babies, but finding things that now make me feel good
Yeah.
is fun.
And you deserve to feel good. We all deserve to feel good.
Absolutely. I agree. Doing things that you like really helps.
That turn up your shine.
Yeah, yes.
Let's just bring it back to that. Turn up your shine. What are things that make you glow brighter? Things that you can do for yourself.
Right. Even if no one else can see it.
Especially if no one else can see it. Michelle continues, you can and should be proud of your body. I've learned just because I don't fit the basic patriarchal idea of what a woman should look like doesn't mean that I am not worthy of love or sex or attention or to wear something and feel fucking pretty.
Yes.
For years and years and years, I've tried to make my body into the unrealistic standard of beauty that Western culture has created. Everyone is different and we're never going to look the same. And that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, so then we talked about her journey to motherhood.
Mhm.
And so now we're going to get into motherhood. And she writes, "Motherhood adds to my life. It makes me feel important in a way that I've never felt before. People have depended on me, but not in this way, to stay alive, to provide shelter, for guidance on, well, everything. Why don't we treat it like that? Whether you've had a planned pregnancy or not, why don't we treat childcare as one of the most important things ever? Parenthood should be offered as a major in college, vocational schools, damn near every school, anywhere."
Yes.
I loved when she said that it makes me feel important in a way that I've never felt before. And it adds to her life because motherhood adds to my life so much.
Agreed. And I feel like it's important to think of it like that because sometimes it feels like you can get stretched a little thin, especially if your kids are sick. It's important to remind yourself how much that being their parent adds to your life and how much of a blessing it is to have this little family that you've created.
You and I are on the same page when it comes to the type of parents that we want to be because they were the type of parents that we had, and there are ways that we try to fill in the blanks that maybe we experienced growing up or change things around. That always happens. And having that sense of responsibility can feel really daunting. Things happen to them and you can't always protect your children. And I think that's one of the hardest parts of motherhood to me is knowing that all I can do is my best with the foundation that I give them, but ultimately I have to set them free. Letting them go to school for the day or later, like I can't even think about them leaving my house to like go to college or something one day. I just don't think anybody prepares you for that and the mental and emotional toll that that can take on you.
I know. It's an experience I'm not sure you could understand by someone telling you about. And you just can't fathom how you feel about this little person until they're there in your life. There are some things you can prepare for, and it is tough. We end up Googling, reading a lot of stuff. What do you do if your kid's doing this?
And the thing is, every child is different. And there's just no figuring things out sometimes until you're faced with a certain situation.
I feel like we just try to really, no matter what's going on, we really try to just provide a loving presence for them and make sure that they feel valued and loved at our house. And the other thing we always do is we reiterate that we all make mistakes and that it's okay, and we apologize, and our family accepts apologies, and we move on.
I love that. I think that's so great. You're right, too. It makes me think about how perfect I thought that my parents and other adults were growing up.
Yes.
And then I became an adult and I was like, well, hold up. We were supposed to have it all figured out by now. What's going on? Why am I all over the place?
I remember growing up thinking that my parents' sole focus was me and my brother. And now I know like we have so much else going on. I mean, to provide for our family.
That's so great, though, that you felt
Yes.
that direct
Yes.
amount of love.
But it is funny to look back on and just think like, yeah, it's all about me, just about us. Like, no, they had a lot of other stuff going on too.
Yeah, as adults, we juggle a lot of balls, keep them all in the air. Michelle writes, I want them, her children, to question authority, even mine. I want them to be able to make decisions for themselves and trust their instincts. Every child should know their voice is valid. I feel like that's exactly what you were saying. Just children should know their value. And I think one thing that I try to do too is not talk down to my daughter. I literally try to get on her level as often as possible.
Yes, we do that too.
Bending down,
Mm-hmm.
but also not belittling her or her emotions or the way that she views the world and just taking it in and accepting it and making her feel heard. As people, we all want to feel valued.
Yes.
I mean, isn't that what it just gets down to at the end? We all want to feel loved and valued.
Yes, agreed.
Giving love and value to the people that we love is so important.
Yes, and not expecting perfection, because that can be a heavy burden, feeling that you need to be perfect all the time. For certain kids, I know certain kids don't really care. I wish my 6-year-old would question my authority a little bit less. We're in a pushing boundaries time in our life. I'm like, just do it because I said so.
I know. No, honestly, there are times where I'm like, honey, I understand that you don't like that the answer is no and you wonder why, but mommy can just say no right now because my brain cannot think. I'm just
Yes.
honest with her. I'm like, I have already run through the million. She's like on her sixth why. And I'm like,
Yes.
because now it's just no. Okay, I'm trying.
Right. Yes.
But I've burnt your grilled cheese twice now. And like, I just can't have this conversation any longer.
Yes. Hey, moms can get overstimulated as well, just like kids can. If the house is going crazy around me, I know we're not gonna play trouble. It's too loud. I'm overstimulated. Let's play something quieter. Like, I need a minute.
I feel so seen by you right now because I've started to feel this way. I think adding a second to the mix definitely ups the
Yes.
volume.
Yes.
And I've never been a person who's felt overstimulated before, but also I've never lived in a household of 4 people before.
Right.
And there are moments where I just have to stop. And sometimes I just like mute everything for 3 seconds and
Yes.
then I can sort of feel better. But this is why we talk about these things, right? So that we feel just like we're part of the same club a little bit.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
And then I loved this part where Michelle writes, just because you don't have a kid doesn't mean you're not mothering someone.
True.
And I was like, oh my God, we've all been there before we had children.
I know, right?
Okay, so now we're going to get into Michelle when she talks about being a light-skinned Black woman and an actress in America, because this really opened my eyes up to her, the world that she has to live in,
Right.
and just helped me gain perspective.
Yeah.
She writes about how people will talk shit about Black people to her because they've decided that she's not really Black because her skin is very light. And I loved her rebuttal. She writes, I may have put on a couple pounds this year, but boo, your ignorance is weighing me down.
She does have some amazing clapbacks.
She really does. She's like, I don't know if you do this, but sometimes if I have like a confrontational-esque situation with someone, or even if I don't, but I wish that I had been a little bit more assertive or whatever,
Yes.
I'll have the conversation back to myself in the shower later, but like with things that I wish I would have said.
I know. I do that too.
But Michelle just does it. She
know.
just says it.
I know.
That is such a skill. And if she could bottle that up in a class, if Michelle Buteau could make a master class in clapbacks, I would pay for that.
I would take it. Yes.
She writes that audition rooms with Black actresses are so much more supportive and lively because, quote, we are all just so thankful that someone has written a part for us. I would love to just walk into a room where everybody's like, hey, you know what? One of us is going to get this. And that's fucking awesome.
I know.
It's just about uplifting each other. So we're going to move on to talk about her relationship with her parents. And she talks about her parents a lot throughout the book. As I mentioned earlier, they helped pay for a surrogate for her to welcome her family into the world. And about her father, she writes, he always had a warped way of showing me I was strong. And she includes a few examples. She writes, there was one time I was 15 and my father said to me, stop eating pasta in front of your boyfriend and you should lose 20 pounds because then you'd be so beautiful. I stopped right there. I told him off. I said, I am beautiful no matter what, 20 pounds or not. And if someone is going to love me, they are going to love me for me. His look changed immediately and he said, that's my girl. I mean, the confidence and wisdom that this woman has had.
I know.
It seems like since the beginning of her time here on Earth.
Right.
I probably would have internally been like, whoa, that was really mean what my dad just said. But I don't think I would have been like, you know what, Dad? Stop it, because they should love me. It takes such an insane amount of self-confidence and awareness and self-love at that time.
Yeah, I thought that was amazing too. I remember that part.
And then she, unfortunately, like every single Black woman's memoir that I've been reading, has at least one story of somebody calling her the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
Her first one in this book, she's very young. She's 6 years old and she's called the N-word and she writes that she didn't even know what it was.
Right.
And so she says, thank you.
Right.
And it wasn't until later that a little girl is like, actually, that means a bad Black person.
Right.
And Michelle is really confused and hurt. And she goes home and she tells her dad about it. And his answer is, congratulations, you're Black. Where's your lunchbox? I'm not buying you another lunchbox. Then he helped me with my math homework, and that was that. 0 fucks given, message received. It's just something that we will never truly be able to understand, but their dynamic and their relationship really worked for them. He
Right.
seemed to give her exactly what she needed at
Mhm.
various points in her life. There are those really difficult parenting moments
Yes.
where sometimes it's a sit down conversation about something bigger in the world. And maybe if she weren't 6, that would have been the move that he did.
Sure. Right.
But sometimes you just say, you know what, the messages have 0 fucks about that.
Yes. Understanding how to talk to your kids about really tough, I mean, unimaginable from our standpoint. Being a parent is so hard, and it does feel like he really knows her and what he needs to do for her. And maybe it's different with different kids. What you might do with one is not the same as how you would confront it with another one.
There's one more story with her dad that I wanted to talk about, her breast reduction story. And she writes, my dad said, you don't look happy or comfortable. You are the type of person that needs to be happy and comfortable. One time you joked and said that your bra is the stuff bridges are made of. That was sad. Let's look into a breast reduction. And that was that.
Crazy.
Crazy and wonderful.
Yes.
It was unexpected for me that this was coming from her father
Right.
and not her mother. And I love that she had that person in her life.
Yeah.
She does talk about having a more difficult relationship with her mother. Speaking of her growing body, she talks about how her mother would tell her to stop sticking her breasts out when she walked, when really Michelle was just walking like a normal person. All of a sudden, she just had these giant breasts that she was dealing with and didn't even like and was trying to cover up and dress and hated it. And she writes, I wasn't mature enough to stick up for myself. After all, this is my mom. I didn't even know I was being shamed by the lady that should be protecting me. I truly thought this was what moms do, but looking back on it, I wish my mother had told me that it'd be okay, that I'd grow into my body. I wish she'd help me find clothes that I could express myself like everyone else in school.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool that she provides these kind of like teachable moments. She's not trying to say my mom was a horrible person. She's just saying this was a time when my mom didn't support me the way that I needed her to support me.
Right. I feel like she has a lot of grace with her mom, and that's something that I hope our kids also give us grace.
Yeah.
We're not going to do everything perfectly. We've sometimes got a lot on our plate.
And we're also going to be navigating our own baggage. We bring so much of our baggage, I think, specifically as women, to our relationships with our daughters.
Yes.
And so it's up to us to acknowledge that and sort through it. I struggle with letting my emotions control me sometimes. And I don't like that about myself. It's something that I work on. It's something that I feel ashamed of sometimes. And so when my daughter is in an emotional hurricane, I struggle with having patience with it because I just want to say, no, don't be like me. Don't let this become a thing for the rest of your life. But I can't put my stuff, I can't project onto her because she's her own person.
When you're in a situation and I can recognize that, hey, I didn't handle that in the best way. In our family, we apologize. The other person accepts your apology. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, we do the same thing. Although I will say I find it much easier to apologize to my daughter than my husband.
Agreed. Yes.
Okay, so now we're getting kind of to the end of our discussions, and it's time to finally reveal the most amazing clapback in history of clapbacks. Michelle says this in the book because she's being heckled during one of her stand-up routines.
Yes.
You want to say it?
You can say it.
I hope your dick is as large as your mouth.
How good is that?
It's amazing. And oh my God, I think I literally put the book down and was like, this woman just handed us all a gift with this line.
Yes. Hilarious.
Yeah. And her book is full of other great one-liners but that one to me was the most generalized. I feel like so many other ones were very specific. That is one of the best pieces of gold from this book. And then I just want to finish the episode with a couple of quotes that I just want to discuss very quickly with you. And the first one is, sometimes the only thing we have is our imaginations. And if we don't hope for anything, then how can we expect anything good to happen?
That is good. like you're in charge of your own destiny. If you're feeling stuck in a rut, it's your responsibility to do something to change that. Gosh, it's easier said than done, though, isn't it?
Yeah, relying on your imagination. And it may feel foolish because that realistic voice in your head may be kind of hounding you. You have to just shut that bitch up and then say, I'm going to take a moment. I'm just going to imagine myself living my best life. And hopefully that will spark some sort of confidence and hope inside your body. But she's so right. If you don't have hope, what do you have?
Agreed.
Really, the one thing that keeps us all going. Hope that tomorrow can be better.
Yes.
Okay, so the next one is what I've realized is that I've been through a mental and emotional minefield of fuckery, finding myself carrying the vintage grudge of ignorance. Whatever race, creed, light, medium, dark skinned, the world will always be hardest on women. That connection that we have overshadows any culture. Leave us alone. We're tired. No matter what race, culture, or political affiliation, why can't our platform just be kindness?
I love that.
It's a very simple message, isn't it?
Yeah, I do think it's important to keep kindness at the forefront, and it just helps. Like, what are you helping if you're bringing someone down or being rude to someone or mean to someone? I don't understand that.
Because we're all in our bubbles that sometimes when we see people who look differently than we do or practice different religions or have different cultures, that it feels unnatural to us
Sure.
because it's not what we're used to.
Right.
And I think that's why something like there's been such a fight for diversity and representation in media. And it's not just people with different skin colors, but it's people practicing different religions and showcasing those religions. And I think that's really helpful.
Definitely.
The last one is entering a new relationship that's good for you after a string of terrible ones is a mind fuck. You don't mean to bring that caged animal energy to the table, but it sure do pop up. Like that zit in the crease of your nose after a long flight. The only way the only way I could get through trusting him, her soon to be husband, and not seeming like a crazy person checking his phone was faking it till I made it. I hate lies. I hate fake, but I truly just pretended to be the best version of myself, which I thought this was really interesting. She's talking about entering this new relationship with Heiss, who she eventually marries, but it was really hard for her to shake all of her old habits because she had been put through the ringer, and she talks about those guys in the book too. But it's so important to do. And I feel like you and I have really interesting perspective on this because we both ended up getting back together
Right.
with boyfriends who we had really hard breakups with.
Yes.
And we married them and
Right.
have successful, healthy relationships with. What was that like for you? What was that process of letting bygones be bygones?
It's hard. It is hard. And you really do have to make a conscious effort to move past it. And communication is key. And we've been through couples therapy on more than one occasion before we got married. We did, which was really helpful, giving us some communication tips to move past that. And then we've done it, since we've been married as well, couples therapy. And I think it's just really helpful. I think communication has to be the key on that. And just like, he's not a mind reader, I'm not a mind reader. So we're upfront with how we're feeling, or we try to be. We're not perfect, but how we're feeling, what we need from the other person, what's kind of going on. Because for me, having stress, whether it's work stress or kid stress or something, I tend to then spiral into like other stressful things.
Me too.
And so, my husband knows that. We're able to talk through that, recognizing and vocalizing things, I feel helps us immensely with that kind of stuff.
Communication is key. I think that's the number one key to relationships, figuring out how you best communicate
Yes.
and learning how your partner best communicates. And then sometimes if they're at odds, figuring out, okay, how can we remedy this so that we can communicate together?
Right.
Well, that was Michelle Buteau's wonderful book. It was like a breath of fresh air. It was funny and vulnerable. And I feel like her confidence rubbed off on me a little bit just by reading it.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm so grateful that she shared her stories, just the journey of being a human being.
I felt like she had some great insights and she put it in a way that was digestible and fun. It was like, my favorite books and movies are the kinds that are kind of like they make you laugh and they make you cry and make you feel all the feelings. And that was like everything this book did.
That's right. Thanks for joining us, Paige. I love you.
Yes, love you too.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Babes in Bookland. To access the full version of this episode, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or support us on Patreon. Visit babesinbookland.com for more information.